Good evening, everyone. Let's talk a little bit about disaster assistance today. I've heard a lot of myths. I've heard a lot of misconceptions with disaster assistance. Hey, I have homeowners insurance. I can't get disaster assistance. I have flood insurance. I can't get disaster assistance. Or I didn't have insurance at all and I still can't get disaster assistance. What the heck? Well, let's talk a little bit about this. Let's talk about what I call the kind of three-step process. Look, your first level of defense should always be insurance, whether that's a flood insurance policy or home insurance policy. Then, if that's not enough, this is where disaster assistance kicks in. For example, a traditional federal flood insurance program policy does not cover living expenses. Thanks for tuning in, Jordan. But a private policy might. So if you can't get access to this through the federal government, you might be able to get it on disaster assistance for living costs, temporary living, things like that. So you've got insurance, then you got disaster assistance. The problem with so much disaster assistance is it can be income-based. This means someone with a higher level income might be turned down when someone with a lower income may not. But this assistance also comes down to the amount of damage you have. You've got to have enough damage to qualify for disaster assistance. Your community has to have enough damage to qualify for disaster assistance. This is why it's so important to disclose your damage locally, whether it's flood damage, whether it's just home damage, because this is how they qualify for disaster assistance. This is how FEMA determines how much money they're going to get. Now let's talk about disaster loans. These are called SBA disaster loans. These are low interest loans that are available usually up to $250,000 on a 30-year mortgage, basically. And if you don't qualify anywhere else, typically right now what we're seeing are rates around 5 to 6%. If you do qualify somewhere else, the rates that I recently saw on the Augusta, Georgia disaster from Debbie was about 8%. So remember, insurance, disaster assistance, then disaster loans. Now let's talk about disaster assistance and disaster loans. Remember, grants have to be paid back. Assistance does not typically have to be paid back because this is like a grant. What does have to be paid back is a loan. So remember that. But also remember, let's say that you decided to take out disaster assistance. This means that you're always going to have to carry home insurance. And if it was a flood disaster and you had flood damage, you're always going to have to carry flood damage now, no matter what flood's on your end, whether your bank's requiring it or not. So if you're only getting $1,000 in disaster assistance, you want to look at the overall cost here. And I'll have a much deeper dive on our website this week of truly understanding this disaster assistance, disaster loans, and insurance. And I'll also have some videos on our YouTube channel. I've also already got some videos on there if you want to jump on there on this whole flood insurance claim process, meeting with your adjuster, all this stuff. I'll have the rest of those live hopefully tomorrow. I just wanted to do this live video today and truly help people understand the difference between insurance, assistance, and loans. So I hope this helps. Thanks for tuning in, Nate. And so if you've got questions on this stuff, please let me know. My background is in flood mitigation. Literally, it's what I've done for almost 20 years at the Flood Insurance Guru. It's why we help people through disaster assistance and disaster loans every day. It's because almost no other insurance company out there is either willing to do it or has the knowledge to do it. And having a background in college and writing grants, I understand a lot of times how these different grants work, like the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, where your property might be bought out, which means that FEMA is going to come up with 75% of the funding. Your community has to come up with 25%. Should you sell back to FEMA? What does it mean if you don't? All these different things. So I hope everyone has a great evening, and I hope to keep putting out this correct information for you. And I hope that we can all get through this major disaster together. I hope everyone has a great evening.